Alright, now before I start this video, let me ask you a question. Is Critical Ops a knockoff of Counter-Strike? Now before you answer that, let me start by saying that Critical Ops and Counter-Strike are what we'd like to call tactical FPS games, and I believe that tactical FPS games can share some, if not most, of their ideas and concepts interchangeably, if not for a few tweaks to better suit your game of choice. One of these concepts that comes to my mind is the act of defaulting, something that is often done in Counter-Strike but is rarely seen in Critical Ops ranked games outside of team play and the competitive scene. This is due to the limited communication you have between teammates and just an overall misunderstanding of what defaulting is. So what is defaulting? Defaulting is not just playing for picks. Defaulting is about gaining map control as the breach and denying the coalition access to key choke points. This can be done by using utility like smokes to block the vision of the coalition and flashbangs to potentially blind or make the coalition move away from their current position. Vision of the coalition. That sounds like a band name. Anyways, what defaulting also does is it lets you see what utility the coalition is throwing so you can get a general idea of where they are setting up each round, and based on that information, you and your team can know which site is the best site to take that round. Okay, so now we know that defaulting is about getting map control and gathering information based on the coalition's utility, but how do you default? There are 4 different ways that you and your team can default. Defaulting mid, defaulting the extremities, which just means defaulting A or B, and fake defaulting. When you default, you want to put the most players to the side that you are defaulting towards. For example, let's say your team is defaulting mid. So you would have 1 player fighting for A long control, 1 player fighting for B long control, and 3 players fighting for mid control. This is called a 1-3-1, where 1 player goes A site, 3 players go mid, and 1 player is going B site. You can also have 2 players going mid instead, and have that extra player hold an angle that can't be held by just 1 player. And when defaulting to the extremities, it's the same idea. Put the most players to the area your team is defaulting towards. Defaulting A site would be called a 3-1-1, and defaulting B site would be called a 1-1-3. Now, fake defaults are used to throw off the coalition when they are expecting you to play a certain way. They take advantage of the timings of a standard default, so that way you can make the coalition think you are coming from one direction while your team is pushing a completely different direction. You can basically set up any kind of default and then push either of the remaining options. Alright, so we know what defaulting is and how to default, but what does defaulting look like? Well, if you ever watch Critical Ops Pro League's games, it's those slow parts of the round where it seems like nothing is going on. That right there is defaulting. And you don't have to default every single round. Only default if you and your team are struggling to get any openings and you don't know how the coalition is playing. I plan on making videos on how to default on every map in the future, but that is going to entirely depend on how this video does. So make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. It's free and it helps a lot. And to help the algorithm a little bit more, here are the videos that YouTube is recommending you watch. And both of them better be my videos, otherwise I'm a default dance on your grandma's grave.